الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. In our first lesson last week, we went over the biography of Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala. Before we continue, you know I need to ask a quick question. When was Imam al-Bukhari born? Ayy back. 194. Alhamdulillah. And when did he die? Someone else. Allahu Akbar. 256. Jazakallah khair. Alright. So he was born in 194 and he passed away in 256. Imam al-Bukhari, one of the things that stood out about him was that his life was very well documented. Okay? Other Imams were not so lucky. Alright? Many other Imams, there wasn't always someone following them around, writing down every incident that took place in their life. Like Imam al-Bukhari, right? He had that assistant that traveled with him everywhere. Alright? Imam Muslim, his life is a little different. And inshallah, we're going to try to extract benefits from his life story as best as we can. Okay, so our second lesson today in the series of Imams, we're looking at Imam Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala, and we will begin, as we always begin, with his ism, his name, and his nisbah, where he's from. Alright, his kunya is Abu al-Husayn. Imam Muslim, his nickname, his kunya is Abu al-Husayn. Now from this nickname, one might assume what? That he's a father to a son named Hussein. Alright? But this is actually not the case. Alright? This is actually not the case. Yes, he did get married, and he did have children. Alright? But he never had a son named Hussein. In fact, he never even had any sons. Okay? Imam Muslim was a father of many daughters, mashallah. He only had girls. Okay? Al-Hakim says, I saw from his progeny, from his offspring, that he had daughters and no male children. Alright? So Imam Muslim only had daughters. His actual name is Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj, ibn Muslim, ibn Wad, ibn Kawshad, al-Qushayri, al-Naysaburi. So his name is actually Muslim. Is there a better name than that? No. His name is actually Muslim. This is one of the things we need to pay close attention to. Okay? The importance of giving the children a good name. A name that they can look up to. A name that they can use as a guide in their life. Right? That's why the Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged us to name the children good names. Abdullah, Abdul Rahman, name them after the Anbiya. Right? Ibrahim, Salih, all of these great men. Okay? And for the women as well, to be named after the great women of Islam. That way they can aspire to be like them. And whenever someone used to come to the Prophet ﷺ with a terrible name, okay, and they would become Muslim, he would change their name. Okay? If someone came to him named Abdul Shams, for example, the servant, the slave of the sun. Okay? Or Abdullat, or something like this, he would change their name. Some people used to be named Harb, war. You think that child's going to turn out to be peaceful? He's going to be hot. Huh? You got to name the children good names that they can feel comfortable with and aspire to be like that person they're named after. Okay? Imam Muslim wrote many books. Of course, the most famous of which is the Sahih. He wrote Asma wal-Kuna. He wrote At-Tamyiz. He wrote many books. Imam al-Dhahabi said about him, he is the great Imam, the Hafidh, the Hujjah of Islam. طيب, someone tell me, when an Imam is classified, is described as being a Hafidh, what does that mean? Akram, fadl. Okay, good. Go ahead. No. You have anything else to say? Go ahead. Okay. I'm glad you said that. Okay. It's incorrect, but I'm glad you said that. Alright? Why? Because when we hear Hafidh, we automatically assume they memorized the Quran. That's what it means. At least that's what we understand it today. When we say Hafidh, that's what we're talking about. Back in the day, that's not what they meant. Everyone memorized the Quran. It's not special. Okay? That was already expected of you. When they used to say Hafidh, that means this person memorized a large amount of hadith. Okay? Some said 100,000. Some didn't allow 100,000. They said 200,000. Some said no, it must be 300,000. Okay? So whoever is named Hafidh means that they memorized hundreds of thousands of ahadith. Alright? And Imam Muslim was one of them. Alright? So he was from Naysabur, which during his time was one of the centers of knowledge, okay, in the Muslim world. And it specialized specifically in learning hadith and taking hadith. And that is why Imam al-Dhahabi, he said about it, Daru Sunnah wal Awali. He called Naysabur Daru Sunnah, the place of Sunnah, and the place to take hadith from. What year was he born in? Okay, Imam Muslim, all of the mu'arrikhin, all of the historians, they agreed that he was born after the year 200. Okay? But they differed on when exactly he was born. The first group of people, they said he was born in the year 204. Okay? They said he was born in 204. And this is the view of Ibn Kathir, As-Suyuti, and others. لَكِنَّهُ قَوْلٌ مَرْجُوحٌ. But this is not the correct view. Okay? Even though this is the most widely accepted, you will find many people saying 204. Okay? But it's not actually correct. The second view, and what is most correct, is that he was born in the year 206 after Hijrah. Okay? And this is the view of al-Hakim and Naysaburi. But why do we say that this is the correct view? Because of what al-Hakim heard from his teacher, Ibn al-Akhram. And Ibn al-Akhram was alive during the time of Imam Muslim. In fact, Ibn al-Akhram was an expert in the books of Imam Muslim. He wrote a book based off of Sahih Muslim. Okay? So he was alive during the time of Imam Muslim. He was a specialist in the books of Imam Muslim. So that means he knew him best. Okay? And what did Ibn al-Akhram say? He said, Muslim, Ibn al-Hajjaj, he passed away the eve of Sunday. وَدُفِنَ يَوْمُ الْإِثْنَيْنِ. He was buried on Monday. لِخَمْسِ بَقِينَ مِنْ رَجَبْ. 5 days remaining in Rajab. سَنَةَ إِهْدَى وَسِتِّينَ وَمِئَتَيْنِ. In the year 261. And he was 55 years old. Alright, do the math. If he died in 261 and he was 55, that means he was born in 206. In 200 and Rajab. Now Imam Muslim, he grew up like the other Imams in a house which was full of knowledge. Okay? In a household of knowledge. He learned first from his own father. His own father was a sheikh, was an imam, okay, was a scholar himself. And how do we know this? The student of Imam Muslim, okay, the student Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab al-Fara, he said, وَكَانَ أَبُوهُ al-Hajjaj ibn Muslim مِنْ مَشْيَخَةِ أَبِي. His father, Imam Muslim's father, Hajjaj, was my father's teacher. So Imam Muslim's father was an imam, was a muhaddith, was a scholar himself. And he used to have his own students. Okay? So no doubt, the fact that he had a father like this had a great influence on him, and he was encouraged to seek knowledge. Okay? Unfortunately, we don't have too much details about the early years of Imam Muslim. However, it's safe to assume that he started off the way that everybody else started off during that time. The tradition was, after you learn how to read and write and memorize the Quran, you then move on to hadith. And this is how he did. Okay? Imam Muslim, how did he look like? Al-Hakim al-Naysaburi, he said, he used to stand very tall. Imam Muslim never used to be relaxed, bending over, bad posture. He used to what? Stand tall, straight. This is a sign of confidence. Alright? He had good posture. He had white hair on his head, and he had a white beard. Okay? He had a white beard. Where other imams, like Imam al-Shafi'i, if you remember, what did he used to do to his beard? He used to dye it with the henna. Okay? But Imam Muslim, he left it white. Okay? His head and his beard were both white. And the end of his turban would hang between his shoulders. Another description that we have of him is what? That he used to wear a turban, imam. Okay? And the tail of the turban used to be in between his shoulders in the back. He used to hang. This is exactly how the Prophet ﷺ used to wear it. Okay? The Prophet, whenever he wore an imamah, he would let the tail hang in between his shoulders. Another way you can wear it is you bring the tail up over the chin, over the shoulder. Okay? So this is what he used to look like. Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami said, he says, I saw a sheikh who was very handsome. Imam Muslim was a handsome man. Okay? Wearing fine clothing. The tail of his turban was hanging between his shoulders, so it was said, that is Muslim. That is Imam Muslim. Yes.
So he would let his imam
straight down, behind his back. Alright. Now what about his seeking of knowledge? al-Dhahabi says, وأول سماع المسلم سنة 18 و200. He first began to hear hadith in the year 218 after Hijrah. If he was born in 206 and he first took hadith in 218, he was how old?
14 or
12. Okay? He was 12. Alright? And the first sheikh he took hadith from was Yahya ibn Yahya al-Naysaburi. Okay? And this was a sheikh who lived in Naysabur, in his own hometown. So this was one of the first mashayikh that he went to. He then went on to take knowledge from all of the scholars in his hometown. And this is the way of the Salaf. Okay? That someone exhausts all of the knowledge in their hometown first, before moving on and traveling. It doesn't make sense that you don't take any knowledge from someone in your hometown and then you just get up and you move. You travel for the sake of knowledge. No. The Salaf, what they would do is, they would go to the mashayikh of their town and learn, and once they could take whatever they could take from them, then they moved on to the next land. Another one of his teachers was Ishaq ibn Rahawayh. Who remembers him from the last dars? Besides Abdullah. Akram, go ahead. Go ahead. Ishaq ibn Rahawayh. Who was he? No. No.
He was a teacher who told Bukhari and his other students, whoever writes down a sahih for me.
That's why I didn't want to call on you. Yes, you're correct. Okay. Ishaq ibn Rahawayh was the one who gave Imam Bukhari the idea to write his book. Okay. Here you can see Ishaq ibn Rahawayh was also the teacher of Imam Muslim. So Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim shared in a lot of the same shuyukh, in a lot of the same teachers. Alright? He also learned from Qutaybah ibn Sa'id. And inshallah we're going to come back shortly to look at the relationship that Imam Muslim had with some of his teachers. Okay, some of his close teachers. In the year 220, now he's 14, he made Hajj. Okay, he made Hajj. And there, when he went to al-Hajjaj, he was able to benefit from the scholars in both Mecca and Medina. Okay, many of them went on to be his greatest shuyukh. And this is something that we see in most of the biographies of the scholars we've mentioned so far. That when they're young, their mother or their father took them where? To Hajj. Okay? They made Hajj and then they benefited from the scholars in Mecca and Medina. This is a lesson for us here. Unfortunately, what happens today? A family wants to take a vacation They pack up their bags. They go to Six Flags. They go to Disneyland, Disney World, whatever it is. Spend thousands of dollars. The same amount if you just took your children to Umrah. Same exact. Okay, wasted on nothing. Okay, just riding a few rides. Whereas the Salaf, what they used to do is, they used to take their children for Hajj and Umrah and let the child experience that. They'll fall in love with it. Remember last week, we mentioned Bukhari when he went there, he didn't even go back home. He just stayed there. And he benefited from the scholars. Alright? Of them, of his other shuyukh, which was his oldest shaykh, was al-Qa'nabi. Okay, as well as Sa'id ibn Mansur. Now when he was done with Mecca, he went to Medina and he benefited from the scholars there. And there he learned from Ismail ibn Abi Uwais. Now on his way back from Hajj, he stopped in a few cities. Okay, he stopped in Kufa in Iraq. And there he took from Ahmad ibn Yunus. And then he remained in his land. He went back to Naysabur. Once he went back, he stayed there for 10 years. Okay, he continued learning at the hands of the scholars in Naysabur. Now, Imam Muslim, one of the things that stands out about him in his biography is that he is one of the most well-traveled imams. When you compare him to others, he had the most extensive traveling. He traveled to cities and then he traveled back to those same cities multiple times. He went to Hijaz, to Kufa, to Basra, to Baghdad. And in Baghdad he learned from Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Okay? Ahmad ibn Hanbal was also his teacher. Okay? He went to Ar-Ray, to Egypt, to Sham, to Balkh, all over the Muslim world. Multiple times. Alright? You can imagine, he has a wife and he has many daughters at home. Yet he's going on all of these types of trips for the sake of what? Knowledge. Not just for himself, but he left a work for us. He traveled in order to verify hadith, to check hadith, to make sure the narrators of hadith are trustworthy, and to point out which ones were not trustworthy. And he left all that knowledge for us. Right? For the sake of Allah. May Allah accept it from him. He also did all of this traveling with a travel partner by the name of Ahmad ibn Salam. Ahmad ibn Salam. If you remember last week, we mentioned that Imam Muslim, when he stormed out of the class, the majlis of Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhahabi, along with him went Ahmad ibn Salama. Okay? So they were travel partners. They went everywhere together. Alright? And that was his student. Ahmad ibn Salama was his student. What did the scholars say about Imam Muslim? Okay. Imam Muslim, first off, he was a merchant. He was a businessman. He owned a business where he sold dry goods. Okay, dry goods like dates, like seeds, nuts, that kind of stuff, dry foods. Okay, and this is how he sustained himself financially. And this is a beautiful practice amongst the scholars. Okay, amongst the imams. What do you find? They did not used to be people of handouts, asking people for money. Right? They did not used to charge people to learn hadith. Instead, they would work themselves and make money to financially take care of themselves and their families, and then they would teach for what? For free. Okay? They didn't used to take money. Most of the time. Alright? He was very generous to the people of his hometown, to the point he received the nickname, the charitable one of Naysabur. The charitable one of Naysabur. Alright? قال أبو عمرو المستملي أملى علينا إسحاق الكوسج سنة 51. Abu Amr, he says, Ishaq al-Kawsaj was dictating to us hadith in the year 251. All the while, in this group, Muslim is correcting him. Okay? While the Sheikh, this great scholar, Ishaq, he's narrating hadith, You find in the corner is Imam Muslim. Every so often he's stopping Ishaq, correcting him where he's going wrong. Okay? وأنا أستملي فنظر إليه إسحاق وقال لن نعدم الخير ما أبقاك الله للمسلمين. And this person, Abu Amr, says that Ishaq looked over and he said about Muslim, Allah will never deprive us of khair, of good, as long as He keeps you alive for the Muslims. As long as you exist in this world, we will be in khair, we will have goodness. Alright? Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab al-Farah, his student, said, Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj was from the scholars of all the people and from the vessels of knowledge. I know nothing of him except goodness. Even his own teachers used to testify to his greatness. Okay, Muhammad ibn Bashar, his teacher, said, Hafidh al-dunya arba'ah. The Hafidh al-dunya arba'ah. Those Hafidh of the dunya, of the entire world, are 4. And then he says, Abu Zur'ah bil-Ray. Abu Zur'ah in al-Ray. Okay. Wa Muslim in Naysabur. Wa Abdullah al-Darimi bi-Samarqand. Wa Muhammad ibn Ismail bi-Bukhara. Okay. He says these 4, he considered them as the Hufad of the dunya, and amongst them he mentioned Imam Muslim. قال أبو عبد الله محمد بن يعقوب ابن الأخرم الحافظ. Ibn al-Akhram said, Naysabur, it produced 3 great men. Who were they? They were Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhahabi, Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj, and Ibrahim ibn Abi Talib. And Abu Salama said, رأيت أبا زرعة وأبا هاتم يقدمان مسلما في معرفة الصحيح على مشايخ أصرهما. He said, I witnessed Abu Zur'ah al-Razi, and Abu Hatim al-Razi rank Muslim, categorize Muslim, put Muslim ahead of all of the sheikhs in their time. Okay? If you are to categorize, rank any scholar during that time, Abu Hatim and Abu Zur'ah, they said, who's number 1? Imam Muslim. And who was Abu Hatim and Abu Zur'ah al-Razi? They themselves were the greatest, one of the greatest scholars of hadith that ever existed. They memorized hundreds of thousands of ahadith. Alright? And they ranked Muslim at the top. Al-Husayn ibn Mansur, he says, سمعت إسحاق ibn Rahaway. I heard Ishaq ibn Rahaway ذكر مسلما, he mentioned مسلما فقال بالفارسية كلاما معناه أي رجل يكون هذا. Ishaq ibn Rahaway, he said in Farisi, okay, you gotta keep something in mind. Imam Muslim was from Naysabur. Naysabur is not a land of Arab. Okay? Imam Muslim was Persian. Just like Bukhari was, they were not Arab. Here you find Ishaq ibn Rahaway, he said in Farisi, not in Arabic, he said in Farisi, something that means, who is this man? He was so amazed of Imam Muslim. He said, who in the world is he? Surprised at him and at his memory and his skills. Alright? As for his students, then there are many. Of them, Salih ibn Muhammad Jazara, Abu Isa al-Tirmidhi was his student. Al-Tirmidhi was the student of Imam Muslim. Okay? Abdurrahman ibn Abi Hatim, Abi Bakr ibn Khuzayma, Ibrahim ibn Muhammad ibn Sufyan, and others. As for his teachers, also there are too many to mention, but of them, Yahya ibn Yahya al-Tamimi. And Yahya ibn Yahya al-Tamimi narrated the Muwatta from Imam Malik. Okay? That was one of his teachers. Okay? Abdullah ibn Muhammad al-Qa'nabi, another one of his teachers. We mentioned Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Ishaq, Yahya ibn Ma'in, also his teacher. Okay? Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba, Ali ibn al-Madini, Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhali, and Bukhari and others. Okay? Here, what we want to do is we want to shed light on his connection, his relationship with some of these teachers. Why? Because with certain shuyukh, they had a profound effect on him. Okay? They shaped and because of how they treated him, how they taught him, how they brought him up, he became who he was. Okay? So we want to look at just a few of these mashayikh. The first of which was one of his closest mashayikh in Naysabur, and that was the great Imam Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhali. Okay? Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhali, one of his closest teachers. Alright? Al-Dhuhali and Muslim, of course they were both from Naysabur, so Imam Muslim, he really got to spend a lot of time with him. Okay? And he got to learn a lot and benefit plenty from him. And we mentioned last class that although this was his sheikh, he felt that Al-Dhuhali crossed Imam al-Bukhari and did him wrong. Okay? You all remember. Okay? Imam Muslim, as a result of that, he cut off all the reports, all the narrations, all the hadith that he took from Imam al-Dhuhali. Okay? However, the reality is, this happened more than once. Okay? This happened more than once. Early on, when Imam Muslim was studying with Imam al-Dhuhali, there was another incident that occurred. Okay? Much earlier on in his life. Okay? That did not have anything to do with Bukhari. What was this issue? Makki ibn Abdan, he says, Wafa Dawood ibn Ali al-Asbahani Naysabur. Ibn Ali al-Asbahani, he came to Naysabur. And the people of Naysabur, they set up a majlis of an-nadhr. Okay? They set up a class for him where they could revise hadith. Okay? وَحَضَرَ مَجْلِسَهُ يَحْيَى ibn Dhuhali وَمُسْلِم ibn al-Hajjaj. There were two people in this class. In the class of Dawood ibn Ali al-Asbahani. Imam Muslim and Yahya ibn Muhammad. Yahya, the son of Muhammad al-Dhuhali. Okay? Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj and Yahya, the son of Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhali, were in this class. Okay? فجرت مسألة تكلم فيها يحيى فزبره داود قال اسكت يا سبي. In this class, there was an issue that was raised. And Yahya spoke on it. He tried to answer the issue. But the teacher told him to be quiet. Uskut ya Sabi. Shut your mouth. Okay? He says, وَلَمْ يَنْصُرُهُ Muslim. And Muslim did not come to his defense. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm staying out of this. Okay? When this happened, Imam Muslim kept quiet. So what happens? فَرَجَعَ إِلَى أَبِيهِ. Yahya, the young boy, he goes home to his father, Imam Muhammad. وَشَكَى إِلَيْهِ دَاوُد فَقَالَ أَبُوهُ وَمَنْ كَانَ ثَمْ. When he went home and he told his father what happened, he said, and who was in the class with you? He said, Muslim. And he didn't even come to my defense. So this is where the issue happened. He says, when he told his father, Imam Muslim was in the class with me, and he remained quiet, he didn't even come to my defense, he didn't assist me or help me, Imam Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhali said, I take all the hadith back that I ever told him. Just like that. When this reached Imam Muslim and he heard that, he packed all the books again. Okay? He packed up all the hadith that he took from Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhali. He put it in a basket and he took it to him and he said, I'm never narrating hadith from you. Okay? So this was the first incident. But it actually shows us that it was two different incidences. Remember the second incident, when Imam Muslim returned all the hadith back, he did so on what? On a donkey, which shows you he had so many hadith books that it needed a donkey to carry all of it. Okay? The first time, he just needed a little basket. He took it himself. Which shows you it was also what? It was two incidences. This first incident, they both cooled off after a while. Okay? As you can see, they both they're really tough personalities. Okay? They rush to things. Okay? If you get cut off, if you cut off one of them, they're going to cut you off. Okay? But they made up, and then they went back to the teacher and student relationship until the issue happened with Bukhari, and that's when Imam Muslim again said, take all the hadith back. Okay? Now, since he did not narrate from Imam Muhammad, okay, many of the scholars, they criticized Imam Muslim because of this. Okay? They said that he missed out on a lot of good. You should have took hadith from him. Shouldn't have let this issue get between you. You should have narrated from him. You missed out on a lot of khair. Okay? To the point that Abu Zur'ah al-Razi said to him, or said about him, لو داراه لصار رجلا. He said, if Imam Muslim had just stuck it out with Muhammad ibn Yahya, stayed with him, he would have become a man. He would have become a man. Okay? Figuratively. Okay? So this is what Abu Hatim al-Razi said about him. Okay? طبعا, this is an exaggeration. Okay? This is complete exaggeration. Why? Because Imam Muslim, he's still a giant in his own right. Okay? And al-Dhahabi said about him, فَمَا دَرُّهُ ذَلِكَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. And that did not harm him at all. Look at this. Imam Muslim didn't narrate a single hadith from Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhali. But until last week, how many of you knew Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhali? You knew? Okay, very few. But how many of you knew Imam Muslim? Come on, everybody knows. Allah kept the name of Imam Muslim alive. But only those who read or look into this issue or this subject of hadith know who Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhali is. Okay? So the fact that he left his hadith did not harm him at all. Did not harm him at all. The next relationship we want to look at is his relationship with, no doubt, his greatest shaykh. And that was who? That was Bukhari. Okay? That was Bukhari. Okay? No doubt he was the closest teacher he had. When Bukhari came to Naysabur towards the end of his life, that is when Imam Muslim became his shadow, stuck with him. Okay? For many years, from that point on, for many years, he went everywhere with Imam al-Bukhari. He sat with Imam al-Bukhari. He benefited from him in every way possible that he could. Daraqutni, he said, لولا البخاري ما جاء مسلم ولا راح. Look at this statement. Ad-Daraqutni said, if it wasn't for Bukhari, Muslim would have never became anything. Never would have became anything. That shows you how much he took, how much he benefited from this great scholar, Imam al-Bukhari. And Ali al-Qari, he says, a Muslim, he did not stop benefiting from Bukhari and following his footsteps and adopting his views and opinions and continuously visiting him. He would kiss his hands and take benefit from him. Okay? The relationship of a student with his teacher. More specifically, one of those sciences that he benefited from him the most is a science within hadith called ilal. The science of ilal al-hadith. Okay? Jeopardy question. Okay? It's called what? Ilal al-hadith. The science of the hidden mistakes in hadith. At times, a hadith, if you look at it, on the outside, looks like nothing's wrong with it. It's authentic. Everyone in the hadith, imam, from an imam, all huffaz. From outside, apparent, it looks perfect. But there might be, at times, a defect which is hidden. That is only able to be picked up by the experts. by the experts of this field. This is the field that Imam Muslim benefited from Imam al-Bukhari. Okay? Abu Hamid al-A'mash, he said, okay, he gives an example. He says, we were sitting in a majlis, in a sitting with Muhammad ibn Ismail, with Bukhari. And Muslim came along. In that majlis, someone came and recited a hadith. What was that hadith? The person said that he was told by Hajjaj ibn Muhammad, from Ibn Jurayj, from Musa ibn Uqbah, from Suhail, from Abu Hurairah, or from Suhail, from his father, from Abu Hurairah, that the Prophet ﷺ said, the hadith of Kaffaratul Majlis. You all know the dua. After a majlis is over, you say what? Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Someone mentioned that hadith. Okay? When Imam Muslim heard this, he said, is there a better hadith in the dunya than this hadith? Is there anything better than this hadith? Imam Bukhari looked at him and said, إِلَّا أَنَّهُ مَعْلُولٌ. Unfortunately, it's defective. Unfortunately, it's what? It's defective. It has a weakness in it. And Imam Muslim didn't know. But Imam Bukhari knew. When Imam Muslim heard this from him, he said, La ilaha illallah, akhbirni bihi. La ilaha illallah, tell me what it is. He kept asking Bukhari to tell him, what is the defect in the hadith? What is the mistake? Until Imam Bukhari finally told him. Okay? He says, Musa ibn Uqbah never heard hadith from Suhail. He never heard hadith from Suhail. In that hadith was what? Musa from Suhail. So if Musa never heard from Suhail, that means there's what in between? A gap. Someone's missing. Someone, or maybe or more than one person, you don't know. Okay? So there's a gap there. And then, in addition to that, he gave him the correct chain. The entire chain was not even correct. Okay? So he gave him the correct chain. He said the chain is Musa ibn Ismail from Wuhayb, from Musa ibn Uqbah, from Aun ibn Abdullah, qawluhu, his words. Okay? Meaning, the hadith, the chain, it ends at a person called Aun ibn Abdullah, who narrated from the Prophet ﷺ. Aun ibn Abdullah is a tabi'i. And he said, قال رسول الله. Why is that a mistake? Yes. No? Okay, after I'll give you this.
Because if he's a tabi'een, that means he never met the Prophet.
Excellent.
Believed in him, and that is Muslim.
Excellent. Since it's a tabi'i saying, قال رسول الله, that's another break. There's another gap there. Okay? Because by definition, a tabi'i is someone who never met the Prophet ﷺ. So how is he saying, قال رسول الله, the Prophet said? Okay? So that chain, Bukhari said, is the correct chain, and even the correct chain is weak. Okay? So what does this mean? It means that Imam Bukhari weakened that. And Muslim followed him in that. And they both weakened it. Now, does it mean that that dua is something we shouldn't say? No. Okay? Many of the scholars, they said there are other sources, other chains for that dua. And so as a result, it's still reliable. But Bukhari was addressing this chain. Okay? These chains leading to the hadith. Leading to the hadith, to the dua. Okay? Now when Imam Muslim got the answer from Imam Bukhari, he said, لا يبغضك إلا حاسد وأشهد أنه ليس في الدنيا مثلك. He said, no one hates you except someone who's jealous. And I swear by Allah, there's no one equal to you in the dunya. No one equal to you in the dunya. Okay? He went on to say, دعني حتى أقبل رجليك يا أستاذ الأستاذين وسيد المحدثين ويا طبيب الحديث في علاله. He said, please allow me to kiss your feet. Allow me what? To kiss your feet, O teacher of teachers. O master of the muhaddithin, O specialist in the field of ilal al-hadith. Okay? So as we can see, he benefited greatly from Imam al-Bukhari in this specific field. Okay? But even then, another issue comes up, okay, that we want to shed light on. What's surprising is, even though Imam Bukhari was his closest shaykh, and he benefited from him so greatly, there is not a single hadith in Sahih Muslim from Bukhari, from Imam Bukhari. He did not narrate hadith at all in Sahih Muslim from Bukhari. How does that make sense? Imam Muslim, you left Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhali for Bukhari. You abandoned him. You shunned him. A man you spent many years with. And then you went and studied with him and you still didn't narrate from him a single hadith. How does that make sense? Of course, the scholars, they try to explain this. They try to have an answer for this. Alright? Some, they said that when Imam Bukhari came to Naysabur in that last trip, and Imam Muslim spent all those years with him, Imam Muslim was already done with his Sahih. He already authored it. Okay? By the time Bukhari came. As a result, there was no need to edit his book and to revise his book. It's already complete. Okay? So, he didn't put in the hadith that he took from Bukhari after that. Okay? This is one explanation that they give. And it's a plausible explanation. Okay? Another reason is that according to some scholars, that there was an issue between Imam Muslim and Imam Bukhari. Okay? Towards the end. Of course, by issue we mean they had an academic disagreement. Okay? It's not some petty difference, some personality issue. No. It's over what? Academic, hadith-based disagreement. Alright? A knowledge-based disagreement. And what is their proof for that? Imam Muslim, when he wrote his Sahih, he wrote an introduction. He wrote what? An introduction. Okay? This is one of the greatest things about this kitab, about Sahih Muslim. He wrote an introduction to his book. In the introduction, you can see that there are some shots fired. Alright? He's talking about someone in the introduction. He doesn't mention who. He keeps quiet. But he mentions some stuff. Alright? Not personality-based. Ilmi-based. About hadith. Okay? He says, some people say this and that. And the some people he's talking about is? Some of the scholars, they say, he's talking about Bukhari. Okay? And as a result of that disagreement, he didn't bring any hadith in Sahih Muslim from Bukhari. This is what some scholars say. This too is a plausible explanation. At the end of the day, Allahu A'lam. Okay? At the end of the day, Allahu A'lam, which is the most correct opinion as to why he didn't narrate from Imam Bukhari. Alright? Now, towards the end of the life of Imam Muslim, there was an interesting incident which actually led to his death. Alright? Which actually led to the death of Imam Muslim. His student, Ahmed ibn Salama, he says, there was a circle of revision set up for Imam Muslim. Okay? When it comes to the gatherings of hadith, there's two types. Okay? There's two types. There is the type where the teacher sits and he's actually teaching the hadith. Okay? There's the majlis of riwayah and dirayah. He's telling you the hadith, there's students, they're writing down, they're learning. That's one. There's another majlis where only the experts, the senior students, they sit and they just revise hadith with each other. Okay? They revise hadith with each other. Imam Muslim was sitting in this type, the second type. They were what? Revising hadith. going back and forth. Oh, I heard this hadith from this shaykh today. What did you get today? What is the sentence for this? Who narrated this? They discuss. Okay? Imam Muslim was sitting in that type of a majlis. And in that gathering, a hadith was mentioned that Imam Muslim did not know. That Imam Muslim was not familiar with. Okay? He didn't recognize this hadith. Imagine you've memorized hundreds of thousands of hadith, and then comes along a hadith you did not know. That's surprising. Okay? That makes you think. You question it. فأنصرف إلى منزله وأوقد السراج وقال لمن في الدار لا يدخل أحد منكم. He went home immediately. He went to his library. He told his wife and his daughters, nobody enter this room tonight. Okay? He's going to look for this hadith. Nobody bother him. But his wife came and said, we have been gifted a bag of, or a basket of dates, timber. Someone gifted us a big basket of dates. At least let me put it out for you. Let me put it down. Prepare it for you and give it to you. Okay? So he said, no problem, bring it in. طيب. He spent the entire night in his library, going through his books, looking for this hadith that he did not know. While he's looking for the hadith, flipping the pages, he takes a timber and eats it. Puts the seed to the side. Takes a timber, eats it, puts the seed to the side. The entire night. Until in the morning, he finally found the hadith. And the basket of dates was empty. طيب. Ahmed ibn Salama said, زادني ثقة من أصحابنا أنه منها مات. Imam Muslim died because of this. He overdosed on tamr. La ilaha illallah. He overdosed on dates. But this is the life. For hadith they lived. For hadith they traveled. For hadith they died. Literally. Radiyallahu anhu. This is the strange thing about the death of Imam Muslim. Okay? He overdosed on the timr, and as a result of that, he died. Okay? And he didn't even realize that the basket was gone. The whole basket was done. And he died, rahimahullah, in the year of 261. 261. He was only 55 years old. Alright?
So that was a Sunday.
Yes.
Saturday.
Then Monday he was buried. Okay? Now, very quickly, let us talk a little bit about his actual book. Okay? About his actual book. What was it called? Why did he write it? What's found in it? Firstly, this is a book which is the second most authentic book after the Quran and then after Sahih al-Bukhari. After Bukhari, the most authentic book on the face of this earth is Sahih Muslim. Okay? قال مكي بن عبدان سمعت مسلما يقول, he said, I heard Muslim say, عرضت كتابي هذا المسند على أبي زرع فكل ما أشار علي في هذا الكتاب أن له علة وسببا تركته وكل ما قال إنه صحيح ليس له علة فهو الذي أخرجته ولو أن أهل الحديث يكتبون الحديث 200 سنة فمضارهم على هذا المسند. Imam Muslim said, after he was done with this book, I presented my book to Abu Zur'at al-Razi. Alright? Just like Imam al-Bukhari, when he was done, he presented it to who? Yahya ibn Ma'in, and Ali ibn Madin, and Ahmed ibn Hanbal. Here, Imam Muslim, after he completed his kitab, he presented it to Abu Zur'at al-Razi. And he said, every hadith that Abu Zur'a pointed to and told me it has a mistake, a hidden mistake in it, I took it out of my book. And every hadith he told me that it is good, I left it in the book. So at the end of the hadith, this book is made up of what type of ahadith? Only sahih, accepted ahadith. Okay? Authentic ahadith, reliable. Alright? And in this report, he called his kitab al-Musnad. He called it what? Al-Musnad. Okay? In fact, this led some of the scholars to take the view that the kitab of Imam Muslim was more sahih, asah, min kitab al-Bukhari. Okay? Abu Ali al-Naysaburi, remember this name. Okay? Abu Ali al-Naysaburi took the view, along with many scholars of the Maghrib, the western side of the Islamic Empire. Okay? Morocco, Mauritania, Andalus. Their view was that Sahih Muslim was more authentic than Sahih al-Bukhari. Okay? Is this correct though?
No.
It's not correct. Okay? This is not, it's not correct. The majority view, the correct view, is that Sahih al-Bukhari is more authentic than Sahih Muslim. However, what we can say is that Sahih Muslim is better than Sahih Bukhari in another sense. And that is in the tartib, the organization of the hadith. If you open up Bukhari, you have to know how to read Bukhari. Why is this hadith mentioned in this chapter? It has nothing to do with the chapter it's in. Bukhari had a way, he had an understanding why he put this hadith in this chapter. Okay? But Imam Muslim, you open up the book, it's easy to follow. The hadith of janazah is in the chapter of janazah. The hadith of Sawm is in the chapter of Sawm. The hadith of zakat is in the chapter of zakat. Imam al-Bukhari, the hadith are mixed. Okay? Of course there's a reasoning behind it. Okay? But it's not easy to follow. So if you look at it from that perspective, Sahih Muslim is better. In terms of its what? Organization. Not in terms of its authenticity. Alright? Now the author, Imam Muslim, he did not title his kitab Sahih Muslim. Okay? He didn't title it that. Rather, he titled it Al-Sahih Al-Musnad. Al-Sahih Al-Musnad. That's the actual title. Alright? He said, I authored this Sahih Al-Musnad from 300,000 hadith that I heard. Okay? He heard 300,000 hadith, and from those 300,000, he selected the best and he put it into a book. Bukhari put together his Sahih from how many hadith? Who remembers?
Without over.
How many hadith did he have memorized, and then he took from those to make his book? Yes. That's Muslim. Bukhari, it was 600,000. 600. Double the number of Imam Muslim. Alright? قال أحمد بن سلمة he says كنت مع مسلم في التأليف الصحيح 15 سنة. His student says, I was with Muslim throughout his authoring of this book, which took 15 years. It took how long? 15 years to write the Sahih. For Bukhari, it took 16 years. Okay? And in it is 12,000 hadith. 12,000 hadith. Okay? Meaning with the repetitions. With the repetition. Without repeated hadith, it's only around 4,000. Okay? It's only around 4,000. Now, why did he write this book? For two reasons. Okay? Two reasons. The first reason is, as he himself says in the introduction, if Allah wills, this is the words of Imam Muslim. He says, if Allah wills, I will begin to extract and compose what you have asked me upon conditions which I shall mention to you. So someone asked Imam Muslim, a student asked Imam Muslim, can you put together a book for us that is only Sahih? And so he did so. Okay? So the first reason was because someone asked him to do so. The second reason is due to the many existing works during his time which were full of weak hadith. When he saw that many people were putting out books and they were including in them weak hadith, which the people are unable to distinguish between, he said, no, this is unacceptable. We have to put out a book which is only authentic, that the people can rely on. So he went and he did this. He took that job upon himself. He says, as to what follows, may Allah have mercy on you, if not for that which we saw of an evil act from those who claim to be muhaddithin. He's saying about the people of his time, from those who claim to be scholars of hadith, that they were supposed to adhere to when putting together or putting forward weak narrations, and their neglect and their casting them towards the common people who are not aware of their defects. I responded to what you asked, and it became lighter upon our hearts. Okay? So one, because someone asked him, and two, because he saw that there were books out there with weak ahadith. He had to take it upon himself to put out something that was only what? Authentic. Okay? So this was, in brief, the story of Imam Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj, Imam Muslim al-Qushayri al-Naysaburi, rahimahullah ta'ala. And we will end here, inshaAllah. Jazakumullah khair.